how much you paid for that relationship with Mike.
So $50,000.
Bam.
Knowing that I'm someone that's very competitive, I had to challenge myself, and I had to see a company and pick a couple names and say, I'm going to destroy you. Because that's what motivates me every day. So I have a list, and I like a lot of these people, but I have a list, and it's like when Kobe had that hit list, I have a list where I'm like, I know your numbers for last year. Trust me, it's coming soon.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Let It Up podcast. If you're new to this channel and you want to know everything there is about making money in real estate, selling, sales skills, building your business, or investing, then subscribe below. Tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know what makes our great guests so successful.
Let's talk about adding leverage. So we've been getting a lot of calls of people asking us how we've hired virtual assistants to scale and leverage our business. So we've opened up our playbook to all of you. If you're looking to add leverage in your business, whether it's administrative support, ISA, outbound callers, go to addleverage.com and they'll be there to help you staffing your team.
All right, here we go again with another agent out of our own market, Justin Torres out of Hoboken, New Jersey. Can I say Hoboken?
Well, downtown Jersey City.
Downtown. Where's your office now?
You can say downtown. Weehawken.
Weehawken, because you just made a move, right?
Close enough. I did just make a big move.
All right, we're going to talk about that too.
That must have been a tough move. Yeah, I'm very curious to know about that.
Yeah. He's like, shit, I didn't want to talk about that.
He's like,
There goes that. All right.
Anything
We're
but
starting
that.
off with a bang.
Okay.
Boom, boom.
I didn't get
willing.
any notice
We can talk
about that, but okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
It's on the internet, man. You gotta research these guests. Nah, I saw your girl posting. We good. All right.
Don't bother me. Go for it.
All right, let's do the lightning round.
Let's do it.
Audio Jungle.
What
let's go.
is a mistake people often make about you?
Oh man, you guys are getting me thinking already. I think a mistake that most people make about me is, at least in the business aspect, how serious I can be, because I don't talk to many people in the business. So when it comes to personal, I tend to be very expressive, as they say, but in a business aspect, I just want to get work done. That's all.
I like that.
Okay. All right. What's the first thing you remember buying with your own money?
The Porsche, the BMW, the house, a lot of expenses that are separate and aside from the house that I shouldn't have gotten, but the house is important.
Yeah.
Where did you buy the house?
In Lyndhurst.
Oh, nice.
Good for you, man. What's the worst job you've ever had?
Ah, man, I don't want to hit them, but I'd probably say a moving company, because that is no joke. I mean, we were up at 3 in the morning, 3 in the morning, had to be in the warehouse by 4 to be in Brooklyn from 8 to 7 p.m., 8 to 8 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely the most brutal on my body.
So as Mike Ferry would say, you get to sit now in that air-conditioned, cushy office, put on a nice suit, and all you have to do is make calls. Not so bad.
Smile and dollar, that's it.
Hit it. You got another one?
Yep. What's your worst habit?
I probably say my worst habit at times could be focusing on myself too much. I feel like being present is absent nowadays. So at times I try to repeat myself, at least this year. Am I listening to listen, or am I listening to be heard? Because especially in a relationship aspect or anything like that, there comes a point, even in a business, where in order to have a certain level of empathy, you have to genuinely understand someone's concern. And when I'm just thinking, all right, how do I handle this? Or in a relationship aspect, how do I get over this? It's not conducive to anything healthy.
Yeah. To be understood, you have to first seek to understand. That makes a lot of sense.
We should turn this into a relationship show.
Imagine.
All right. On that note, last question here. Who's someone you really admire?
Oh, you guys know that.
Big man.
There's a man right here.
The big man.
Where is he? He's over there. Yeah, that man has changed my life. Mike Ferry has probably been the best grandfather example of my life, because we've spoken daily, and he tells me what I need to hear, what I don't like all the time. Probably 10% of the time he tells me what I want to hear. But separate and aside from that, when you have a figure like that you respect so much and you hold to a high regard, you understand that without humility, there's no growth. So if I can't center myself and I feel like at my age group I'm doing well, once he brings me down and really talks to me, it helps a ton in understanding. So both Mike and Patrick Bet-David, I'd say, have been the biggest influence. Mike on a personal level, Patrick Bet-David strictly on a social media level.
And now I think that's something else I wanted to jump into too. You now are coaching directly with Mike. And are you still doing that?
No, so I had 6 months with Mike.
6 months with Mike.
You write a big check,
And can we
get 6 months with Mike every day.
And let's talk about how much you paid for that relationship with Mike.
$50,000.
Bam. Now I want people to understand that you can coach with Mike for what? In the Mike Ferry program, I think Premier is like $1,250 a month, right?
Yeah, $1,250 a month, and I think one-on-one is $1,000 or something like that.
$1,250 a month. So quick math, what is that?
15
grand a year. Let's say 15,000. So you decided that wasn't enough, and you wanted to pay 50,000, 50, for 6 months with Mike.
Yeah.
But instead of one call a week for a half hour, you do what is it? A call every day, or you did a call every day?
Yeah. So you get a call every day from
the big
anywhere
man.
from like 9 to 10:30. And the reason why everyone asked me, Justin, why would you drop $50,000 on that? And I think my biggest thing is I understood I had to pay to play. So I knew that if I want to expedite any learning curve, expedite the learning process, especially at my age, if I want results that people at 40 years old typically achieve, or 35, I have to pay to be with a different association. So with that 50,000 came an association to better agents and to people that felt like it was normal and commonplace to make a certain level of money. So I wasn't having conversations with someone making $25 an hour.
Exactly.
I'm having conversations with people that actually motivate me, and at times it's very easy to have like limiting beliefs.
Yep.
So that $50,000 really just ripped that all out.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of times I just think back about some of the best coaches I've ever had, right? And I think the most I've ever paid on a monthly basis for one coach is $2,000. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I probably would have paid at the time $3,000 to $4,000 for that coach because they just were worth it. It's even hard to put a number on it. Like, who's to say that it wasn't worth $10,000 a month? But what I think people don't realize is, A, you're paying for that accountability, you're paying for that access, you're paying for that mindset shift. But I think on top of that, the access it gives you to the other people is exponential. You can't put a price tag on that. The fact that, very few people have paid that amount to have that exposure to Mike. Mike now is going to put you in a certain class of agents and people that you really can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of puts you on the map with other agents.
Yeah. What was the biggest takeaway you took from those 6 months, and like how big of a difference did it make on your business after?
Well, it was mindset, what John said. And it was probably one thing Mike told me was he said, we have to perfect and understand that your job every day is to prospect, go on appointments. And separate and aside from that, don't focus on anything else, but don't always associate your daily activities. One thing he told me, he said, infatuate over your daily activities because everything else will take care of itself. So when he said that, I was like, wow, I could call, I could set an appointment, and business still may not come out of that appointment, but it's okay because it's life. So long as that I infatuate over that daily activity, my job is to do this. My job is to do this and get signatures. Once I've realized the severity of my job, I mean, it was night and day. And then to answer the question about how much my business changed, it's interesting. I did nothing for 3 months. I felt like that paradigm shift, that he completely shifted me entirely from what I was thinking before. Because what's interesting is after reading and speaking with a different association of people, I found that I have to identify at 20 or 22, if I identify as a 22-year-old, my results are going to be complementary to a 22-year-old. If I identify myself with someone of a mindset of a caliber like you guys, 40, or someone who's doing well with themselves, my results will change. So I thought I could live life freely. I can go out when I wanted to. I could have fun when I wanted to. And realistically, my schedule wasn't segmented and I didn't find importance in it until Mike slapped me in the mouth 15, 20 times.
And that was the second time I feel like you referenced my age. So are you trying to, just make me feel a lot older, or is that?
I'm going to just cut straight to the point here. You're old.
That's sweet, man.
All right.
How were you?
I got nothing on that.
Tapping on that. How were you introduced to Mike?
So when I first got into the business, my previous broker, I was day one in the business, and he tapped me on the shoulder and he gave me a sheet. He was like, Justin, I'm going to be on a retreat. You're going to call these numbers. I'll get back in 4 days, and then we'll talk about how your calls went. And I said, okay, what retreat are you going to? And he told me, well, I'm going to a Mike Ferry retreat. And I said, well, should I go? And he said, well, you're going to have to pay for it, but maybe you can consider. I don't know where your expenses are. So what's interesting is I knew before I got into real estate, I saved 10 grand. And I said, I have to find a way to make this work, because I told both of my parents that I'm leaving school forever. So I went to that retreat, and it wasn't, Mike Ferry wasn't there. It was another one of his coaches, Ira. And I paid the $490. And I felt like there was an intuition. When I saw Ira speak, it was like a light bulb flashed. And there was only two times that's happened to me in my life. Number one, when I first signed up for coaching, and the second, when I paid Mike $50,000. And it was interesting because
not when you proposed to your wife or anything, your fiance. That's what you're supposed to say.
Yeah. I was expecting that to be.
There was not a third light bulb.
Well, we could edit this and we could throw that third light bulb, but I'm being real here.
you may have to, bro. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it.
So the second time was when you paid Mike.
Exactly. So tracing back to the first time, I ended up going to the retreat with my broker, my third day in the business, and I was like, I have to sign up for this thing, but I don't have the money. And I knew my parents were pissed off that I just left college. Like, my dream was to play college baseball. I got there, I'm playing college baseball, and then I said, I don't like this. So they weren't too happy. So I didn't want to tell them about this coaching. So I just decided to sign up for coaching, and that's how I learned about Mike. I started reading more about him, and I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. And that was where it started.
Yeah. My connection to Mike was that I just realized the top agents in our market, were all coached by Mike at one point or another, right? Like back then it was like the Patrick, the Michael Klein, and Soha back then was, I think, coaching, and Jill and all those people. And I was like, well, shit, what are they doing? And I said, I'm just going to do the same exact thing. So I went, and I actually flew out to Chicago, and I signed up like first day, like an hour into the event, because it just made sense to me. And it was blind faith though. I was like, these guys make money. They're good at what they do. They're damn good at what they do. And if it worked for them, it's going to work for me. Yeah.
But if you don't trust yourself, think about it. I always thought to myself, if I can't put money in myself and I can't trust my word, how in the world is a seller going to trust me ever?
Yeah.
So I had to understand that when Justin says something or Justin feels something, he's going to act on it. Because that's the standard I set for myself. And if I don't do that, there's no way a seller's going to ever believe me when I try to pitch them on or ever try to represent them on a sale. But I didn't even know what the top agents were. Yeah, I was 20 years old. I was like, hey.
How old are you now?
25.
25.
Nice, man.
It's interesting because there's so many agents, most people your age, I'll say, that are new to the business or even a few years into the business think that they're going to create this sphere or this database through Instagram and TikTok, dance a certain way and, point to shit that, realtors do and consume their time. We've all watched it. I've even done a few of them myself just for fun. But that's what most people think. Like, how did you shift your mindset, or how did you go, against the grain and figure out that, you were to do something different?
Well, because of Mike.
Yeah.
Mike told me to steer away from it. But to be honest, if it wasn't for my fiance, I wouldn't have anything posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
For me, I don't see the value in it. Now, I do understand we could reach a big audience, but how much of that audience is the consumer? So my focus was, how can I get in front of sellers? And when I was playing baseball, there was one of the coaches came out to me and he said, Justin, you have to understand the difference between the extraordinary and the ordinary is they do the ordinary just a little bit extra.
Yeah.
So gravitated were agents like Bernie Gallerini.
Yeah.
Or like agents that were producing at a high level. And I said, wait a minute here. They're making all these calls and their website looks
basic.
Yeah. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
So wait a minute, all I have to do is make calls and my website could look, I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Going into some of the things, like you were talking about infatuating over the schedule was one of the things you learned with Mike. What does your schedule look like today?
Yes. So it's 4:45 wake up, gym immediately from 5 to 6. I'm working out. That's my little personal space. From 6 to 7, I'm getting ready. So role play for my first role plays at 7. 7:30, I'm on the phone. 7:30 to 12, I'm on the phone, and that's it.
I have an idea of what you're doing on the phone, but for someone who's not, so prospecting focused, talk to us about the 7:30 to 12. Are you calling? What are your lead sources? What's your strategy? What's your goal for contacts? That sort of thing.
Yes. So I'm calling expired, FISBO, cancel, withdrawn. Just listed, just sold was a big source for me. Probate, I added. Absentee is another source that I just recently added. And I'm really just focusing on trying to build that database now, because now I have the past clients to support the database. So the sphere was a tricky thing for me. And for those that don't know, a sphere is people that you know. But when I was speaking to Mike, I was like, Mike, my sphere consists of younger people
Who don't own real estate.
who don't know how to spell real estate.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to focus really on, okay, Justin, you sold these houses. How can you extract more people from their database?
Yeah.
Who do they know? You've already built rapport with that person. So now adopt some of their siblings, adopt their cousin, because they love you. And I was like, wow. So that's what I'm doing from 7:30 to 12. It's really just what I told a couple of agents, because a couple of agents in the office came up to me. And I said, when you start in the business, focus on developing a callus, because I try to relate everything to baseball. And in baseball, I had a coach that would make me swing pipes. He would throw my bats and he would say, you're going to take this pipe. And I was like, and for 400 swings, I was
playing
swinging
baseball
with a
in
pipe.
Patterson or what?
I was playing in Union City.
He's
So
like,
similar.
hey, you swing this bat.
Well, he was just like that. So what was interesting is, well, I started developing these calluses, and it was just hardened skin. But before I was developing it, my hands would bleed, and I would wake up at 15 years old, and I wouldn't be able to close my hands in the morning. What was funny was once I got over that and the callus formed, I was able to swing that pipe all day long.
Yeah.
So I said with real estate, if I build a callus in my brain and I get over these rejections, I can listen to them all day. Let's prospect for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Let's do 7 hours. Eventually, it's the numbers game, and I'm going to make money.
And you become numb to it.
Numb to it.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people who are trying to even dabble in prospecting are like, well, even an hour a day must be, is probably pretty grueling for them, right?
It is.
And I know back in the day, Kiro and I would sometimes do like all day on Friday.
Yeah.
I would become delirious. I mean, we would like call literally from like 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on a Friday. And I don't even remember what our goal was, but
dude, even going back, like we had a VA system where we would have virtual assistants calling out leads, and then we would just nurture them. Those calls were a completely different thing because they want to talk about real estate. So you weren't getting rejected from those nurture calls. So we did that for like maybe 3 years. It was an awesome system. And then literally when having to go back to canceled expireds and for sale by owners and then just listed, just sold, I realized that my callus went away and I had to redevelop that early in 2023. And I was just like, why am I overthinking this? And I was just like, all right, I got to go into it. And then after a couple of people cursing you out and you're like, that was actually pretty funny. I had one guy, no joke. I really want to put his number out there. He was like, why you call me? This is illegal. This is illegal, my friend. And I'm like, is it really? Tell me more.
Kiro does the Egyptian accent
for everybody.
Any race, any impersonation.
But it was just like such a big eye opener. And I was just like, wow, that callus, you have to, if you don't keep doing it, you're going to lose it, even though you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Like, I got so used to those nurture calls that we didn't have to do any of the cold calls. And then doing those, I was just like, all right, after a couple of repetitions, I was like, this is actually really fun again. And then that callus grows into like enjoyment truly out of it.
Everything.
Yeah.
There's enjoyment, and then there's like competitiveness.
And then
where like somebody, you're almost like, remember like Ava back in the day? She'd be like, you're itching for them to give you an objection.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I know what they're going to say next. And then as soon as they say it, you're like, great question, and blah, 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 and you just handle the objection. So I think it becomes like, it almost goes from like frustrating to competitive to numb. I think, and then ultimately, once you can connect the dots between the prospecting that you're doing and the money that you're making, that's when, it's just a game changer. You start saying, hold on a second. I called that guy 3 times. His house expired yesterday. I called him right away. He hung up on me. I called him in the afternoon. He gave me some attention. The next day I set the appointment, and then the day after he signed a listing agreement. So I talked to him 3 or 4 times, and I'm going to make $12,000 if I price it right.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. So those was 4 $3,000 phone calls, right?
And it sells in one weekend.
Yeah, and I'm bitching about sitting in an air-conditioned office making phone calls. Yeah, you're not going to find that on TikTok.
Walk us through. So I want to know about this, but we'll rush through it because I want to know more about the activities. So you said you were introduced to real estate. You were working in a restaurant. That's how you found real estate. How did that come about?
Yeah, so this is where I actually built a love for customer service. Because in the restaurant, I was in a fine dining restaurant, and I worked with Ocean Prime. Absolutely amazing experience. It was in Midtown, and what I understood was when I was working in the restaurant, I didn't really have a job. I don't know what my job was. It was more like, at first I was supposed to be a doorman, but I was so excited that I was like, listen, I'll just be the best doorman in the city. I promise you that.
I could see you being a good doorman.
Yeah, because I'm going to smile. You guys are going to know me day in and day out because I'm going to, my goal was this. On a daily basis, I knew I had to get you to smile. I had to get you to laugh, and then I had to get you to talk about yourself because I was winning every conversation when I did that. So once I implemented that daily, I started building customers, and I really wasn't serving. I was just walking around and talking to people. I was supposed to be seating tables, but I wasn't doing any of that. And the manager liked because the people were getting good results. Yeah. People would come up to a manager and was like, who's that new manager you hired? The kid's incredible.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's not a manager. He's like 10 years old, but hey. So what's interesting is once I started building that relationship, one of the customers came up to me and said, Justin, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I just sold my apartment, and there's this guy named Luis Ortiz that sold it. And I said, what is this, racial? And she said, I said, wait a minute.
Is this because I'm Latino?
So I started doing the 1-2 step on her, and she was like, no, Justin, listen to me. I'm successful. I know what I'm doing. He sold it, and you need to research him. Maybe you should get into real estate. So I researched the guy, and he did like $90 million in real estate. And then I found out he was $1 million listing. So I was like, oh, wow, if this guy could do it, I definitely could do it. How much does it cost? It was like $450 to get a license. I don't know how much it was. And strictly because that one person told me to get into real estate, I got into real estate.
That's awesome. And I always tell people, like, I'm always looking for like agents on our team, agents to add to our team, or people that we could add to our company. And it's funny, some of the best people you meet are, coming out of the hospitality industry, right? Because the best realtors are people who can juggle a million different things at once, right? Put out fires, figure out, they can work in a restaurant that's got utter chaos, all the things that go on in a restaurant. I was fired when I worked in a restaurant, so I couldn't tell you all those things. Yeah. No, I was fired because when I opened the bottle of wine, it made a pop noise, and apparently that's not allowed. So. You have to take it out in such a fashion that it makes no noise, which I'm not very good at. Well.
Yeah.
So customer service, no bueno.
But on that vein, so like think about this, because your previous broker was one of the ones I think that is like a great individual who actually coaches his office, like a Mike Ferry office.
Yeah.
Because you could see a lot of your skills were probably definitely hibernated or built in that environment for sure.
Well, he's the one who introduced him to Mike.
Yeah. True. What made you want to switch over to Prominent Properties?
Well, my previous brokerage was incredible. He's the byproduct of my relationship to Mike.
Yeah.
And I never talked bad about him, but I also understood that there was an association factor that I was starting to get in my business. And I felt like I paid for Mike because of association. I now have access to an agent that closes 120 homes in Vegas, someone that does 150 homes in Georgia. But my association in my home, meaning at the brokerage, was still not there. So knowing that I'm someone that's very competitive, I had to challenge myself, and I had to see a company and pick a couple names and say, I'm going to destroy you. Because that's what motivates me every day. So I have a list, and I like a lot of these people, but I have a list, and it's like when Kobe had that hit list.
Yeah.
I have a list where I'm like, I know your numbers for last year. trust me, it's coming soon. And for me, that's what drives me, because what I would tell some of the younger guys is, I would say, if your only motivation in this business is money, once you save 100 grand, your motivation will slowly start to dwindle. You'll show up to the office at 10 a.m. You'll show up at 11 a.m. You got a nice car. And then all of a sudden, that income starts to fade, and then you have to build back up. So I built my motivation around a core group of people. I have a core 8 in my family that my goal is to make sure I take care of every expense of theirs. But then I also built my motivation around competing with somebody else. So it's, I'm going to compete against you. We're one-on-one. Let's do this. It's lonely at the top, but I'd rather be lonely at the top than be at the bottom, sociable with nothing in my bank account. If you want different results, don't be like everybody else. You can't be like your friends. You slowly have to disassociate yourself with inadequate activity, inadequate habits, because instead of going to grab a drink at a bar, maybe you could pick up a book and sit down, read by yourself, because you're going to learn more from this than you are from that inadequate activity or that ridiculous activity of going out with my friends every day.